The following program is brought to you in living color. KRCA is pleased to present the following program as a service to the public in cooperation with the University of California at Los Angeles. This television series, Discipline, is presented by station KRCA in cooperation with the Educational Television Office, University Extension, UCLA, and the California Teachers Association, Southern Section. We are pleased to present Dr. Lawrence E. Vredevoc, Professor of Education at UCLA, in a series of programs dealing with problems of school discipline. The programs in this series are being presented as an in-service training series for public school teachers. This program is so designed that certain school districts may award salary increment credit to teachers who view this TV series and complete the course. Further information may be obtained by contacting your district administrator. Now it is my pleasure to present Dr. Vredevoc.
Fellow teachers and parents, we are glad to have with us for this program representatives from foreign countries who will tell us about their schools and the practices and attitudes in school discipline. First of all, I would like to introduce to you Amini Williams from Kerala State, India, who is a graduate education major, was a teacher and principal, and hopes to return to her homeland and become an administrator upon completion of her work. Next, Osman B. Osman from Tripoli, Lebanon, a graduate engineering major who hopes to return to his home country and establish educational TV in Lebanon. Next, Miriam Lowenstern, Cali, Colombia, South America, a freshman in the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts, and upon graduation will also return to her country. And next, Nana Ibakata, Calabar, Nigeria, Africa, a graduate education administration major and political science major, will be a school administrator when he returns to Nigeria, but before coming here was a teacher and principal. And to my right, Judith Sobathi, Budapest, Hungary, a senior in Russian language majors. She'll not be returning to her home country upon graduation, but will be teaching Russian and Italian and American history in secondary school. And now, I wonder if we can ask Miriam to tell us about her school and some of the problems of discipline in Cali, Colombia.
Well, I attended a private coeducational school where about 300 boys and girls were enrolled. Our principal problems were, like most of the schools, talking during class, or don't do their homework, or talking in the school bus, and they were punished usually going out of class, and we used to hide in the bathroom of fear of the principal that it will take more advantage of the punishment, and we had to stand in a special corner in his office or in the patio, and if there was sun where you have to suffer more.
Well, on a shady day, you wouldn't have to suffer as much as on a sunny day.
No, we can have to walk perhaps around the patio or something like that. Or sometimes we have to stay after school if we haven't done our homework.
If the principal took you to his office, how long would some of the boys and girls have to stand in the corner?
Well, that depends how his mood. Perhaps half a day, perhaps only 1 hour, sometimes a whole day.
I see you're wearing a medal. Will you tell us about this medal, Miriam?
Well, every 2 weeks we have a meeting for all the schools, and if we were good and we have a good behavior and good grades, and so they let us take home for the weekend and show our parents.
I take it you never had to stand in the hall or in the corner in the principal's office. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, congratulations. Now, Judith, tell us, do you have anything like this in your homeland in Hungary?
Well, actually, I came from Budapest, Hungary, and where we had quite a bit of educational problems and discipline problems, even in the first 8th grade of the schools, which were compulsory for everybody. And after, when I finished these 8 years, I went to a 4-year special school for teachers training. And of course, even in a teachers training school, we had quite a bit of discipline problems, especially with talking in class or not preparing homeworks or things like that. And well, the principal punishment was maybe for these little, we can call them little irregularities. Then the students were either sent out of class, or the parents received a note telling that their child misbehaved or something like that. So that were the most common punishments.
Did they ever use corporal punishment?
Well, they never used corporal punishment in Budapest, and actually it was forbidden, so nobody could use it. But in the villages where I taught, many teachers used it because they thought it was necessary in there.
But it was forbidden in the larger cities?
Yes, it was.
How many in India, did you have any problems with discipline in the school as a student, and then as a teacher, did you have any problem?
Yes, we do have problems of discipline everywhere, but I was in the middle school. I couldn't possibly recall of any grievous problem of discipline, because till we complete the high school, when we complete the middle school, the students there are only about 12 years old, and naturally they couldn't indulge into grievous delinquent problems. But we do have in the high schools grave problems of discipline, mostly with boys than girls, and they usually fight with each other and steal things and throw things at each other, and sometimes...
Do they do that in India too?
Oh yes, they do. And sometimes this will have to be brought to the notice of the principal, because the teacher himself will not be able to manage them. And when it comes, till a few years ago, I could remember they used corporal punishment, but I think it is being discouraged now to a great extent. And rather than using corporal punishment, the principal would inform the parents, or sometimes when it comes to very serious cases, they give a suspension for about 5 days, which is supposed to be a very grave punishment, and the student, any student would never want to have a dismissal from school, because after suspension, the next thing that comes is dismissal, and so everybody is afraid of it. And because in India, schooling is a privilege, and so nobody wants to be dismissed from school. But usually, it is being carried out mostly by letting the parents know, and the parents having brought to the school, and sometimes they have talks with the principal, and sometimes the principal leaves it to the parent and he manages it himself.
Osman, how would they deal with serious discipline cases in Lebanon?
Dr. Vredevoc, we have our fair share of this problem, as it seems to be very universal. Children misbehave, they fight with each other, or they pass notes in class, and they talk in class, or don't pay attention, and usually they are punished by either the teacher will have them write maybe something like 500 times or 1,000 times that they wouldn't do this, what they have done, or they'd have to keep them after class, or send them out of the class, or take them to the principal, and it's usually in a very serious cases, usually the case comes to the parents, and the parents usually do their fair share of disciplining the children and telling them to behave in school.
Did you ever have corporal punishment, not administered to you, but did you ever see it administered in your school?
Well, it is actually administered in a very, very hard cases. For example, once or maybe twice a year, usually they gather the school in a big auditorium, the whole school now, and they have corporal punishment administered to a student who has been very, very naughty. Usually his parent was consulted before and his father usually okays the punishment, and they usually paddle him, and after they paddle him, they stand up and sing the national anthem.
Does that alleviate the pain by singing the national anthem?
No, he's usually crying. The rest are singing and maybe enjoying themselves.
But it gives a proper conclusion to the assembly.
It gives them a feeling of national pride. Everybody shouldn't be doing what he's been doing, and that something like it's nothing specific. Just gives them a feeling of they should behave.
Well, tell us what position does the boy take up on the stage with the assembly there and the principal?
They usually have an assistant who sits down in a chair. He takes the child and bends him across, and they take the paddle. And usually it's the principal who administers the punishment, and he paddles him the required number of times according to how serious is the offense. And usually in very serious offenses, like in times where somebody, for example, one time somebody threw a firecracker in class, and before that he's done lots of different things, and his parents have been consulted before, and usually most parents don't want this to be done. For example, sometimes when a teacher actually does hits a student or something like that, the parents are very, very abused by what he's done, and usually they might take some kind of action against the student, against the teacher, maybe paddle the teacher himself. So usually they have some kind of consulting to do with the parents.
I remember in the visit of one school in the Middle East, they told me they had no rule against corporal punishment, but no one dared to use it because the two teachers who did use it had corporal punishment administered to them in the presence of the class by the parent who heard about it, came directly to school. I suppose that does happen.
It does happen indeed, and actually, usually when they do actually paddle a student, it's just on consent of his father who couldn't do anything with him. But actually, the discipline that's administered to students is mostly done in the home and by the father, and when the matter reaches the father, it's a really grave matter.
And I'm interested to know you have firecrackers in the Middle East too. And they take them to school.
Yeah, some of them do.
Nana, you have no problems of discipline in Nigeria?
Well, we don't have too much of a problem with discipline when you talk of major problems that would upset the school, because tradition is so strict, parents so strict, and a child has no alternative apart from being obedient to the parents, and normally the teacher becomes the core of authority. And parents even refer cases of insubordination to the teacher, and the teacher is what I can say the watchdog of the child's life. He has the authority. And so in most cases when we have children staying away from school, or maybe not doing the homework, it's a very serious offense. And in that case, you can devise types of discipline. You might ask the boy or girl to do some janitorial work, maybe grass cutting.
With a mower?
Oh, yes, sure. They do. No, not with mower, but with grass. With the cutlass. A long knife, you kind of bend down and cut. Even in the heat of the sun or in the rain, you've got to work when you disobey the authority of the school.
Go ahead.
If that is not very effective, well, the last resort would be corporal punishment, in which case you devise what we call hammock style.
Oh, what's the hammock style?
Oh, you just get about 4 kids, strong boys, They hold the hands and the leg, and you suspend the child in the air, and the headmaster will just give him what he wants, what we call doctor do good. The cane is called doctor do good. That is, it is a doctor that does good, and once it is used, is going to correct.
Does it usually correct after a while?
Oh, in most cases, kids don't like to be whipped, So when they see that long cane from the headmaster's office, you see everybody kind of quick, They don't want to see it. And once it is used effectively. And the education code in Nigeria stipulates that corporal punishment is essential when all other steps fail to correct the child.
What are the other forms of corporal punishment?
Or we have what we call climb up. That is, you put up a pillar in the school, and the kid will climb up, and maybe he would be caned but if he can outclimb the teacher, well, he escapes. Then he would stay. He will get up and, he will be up and then look down at the teacher, and the teacher will say, "Oh, you better come back and have more." He said, "No, I am too fast for you," and then that is fun. Another type is what we can say horseback. A boy, able boy, will bend down, and the kid will climb up, and it's a lot of fun, to see somebody being carried on the back and something is being given him. That's the last resort, corporal punishment. But if that fails, rustication, temporary rustication. If that fails, expulsion. But in most cases, whether corporal punishment is used, rustication or expulsion, parents feel that the teacher is justified because that is the last resort a teacher can do. So that teachers in Nigeria have authority, the dignity that is befitting of this noble profession.
Nana, did you ever get a good conduct medal like Miriam?
Oh, no, I never had one apart from some stripes and scars at the back, because I quite remember when I didn't do my homework and my headmaster was so mad. And
did they use the hammock style or the pole style?
Oh, well, he used I really remember there was one style he used, what he called flat, A big table is brought in the assembly, and I got on the table and I was held real tight, flat down by big boys, and I didn't move my hand or my leg, so he gave me what I wanted. And from that day, I will never stop doing my homework.
Did they sing the national anthem when you were through?
No, we were still under colonial rule,
Judith, were you ever, when you were a teacher in the village school in Hungary, were you ever asked to use corporal punishment, or did you ever feel that parents expected you to use it?
Well, of course, by the authorities like the principal, I was never asked, but most of the parents asked me to use some corporal punishment if I think it's necessary, and I really used it for some kind of a discipline, and this way I was able to maintain a little more discipline than otherwise.
What kind of corporal punishment did you use?
Oh, well, I usually just slapped a boy or a girl in the face or maybe on the hand. It all depended. And I remember quite that once a mother came up to me and told me why I never spanked his son. And I told her that I never had any trouble with him. He was very nice in class, and he was just quiet and doing nothing, actually. And he didn't do his homework either. But I usually never spank anybody because he didn't do his homework. I just spanked because of maintaining discipline. So this mother said that I should spank his son because I have more time to take care of him than she does. She is working all day and everything. But I refused to do that. I said that I am not going to spank him because he's not doing his homework. So she almost spanked me, and I was quite afraid of that.
When you talk about working all day, what hours would she work? What time would she leave home in the morning?
Well, usually in the villages, the peasants worked from very early in the morning, about 6 o'clock, until just as late as they could, about 10 o'clock sometimes.
And who took care of the youngsters while they were gone?
Well, the real little boys and girls were going to nursery school, but after they outgone the nursery school and went to normal school after the nursery school, then they after school were left alone at home doing whatever they wanted to do.
Did you find that the use of corporal punishment helped the situations in your classroom?
Well, in some cases it did.
And Nana, I wonder if you tell us that in your, did they have corporal punishment for the elementary schools as well as the secondary schools? Did they have it in college also?
We have corporal punishment right from elementary school to the high school standard. In high school, it is the last resort when a case of misconduct, or it might be a case of grave misconduct involving morality. Well, and you find that the child is very promising. He has a very bright future. The parents can even beg the headmaster or the principal to use corporal punishment instead of expulsion. In which case, well, you don't know the number of canes, the number of strokes to be given. The headmaster feels or the principal feels very, kind of a big authority. And he begins to decide how many. Maybe if he says 48, the parents get afraid. They say, oh, you're going to kill my child. But you don't want the child to go back home. In college, that is in high school. But in elementary school, you can use a little something like a pad, and you can use something like a little rope, anything at all that can make the child feel that there is something on the table. And if he doesn't do his work well, the headmaster or the class teacher will say, hey, you better watch, Dr. Dogood is not far away from you.
Amani, do these ideas make you wish that you could have corporal punishment in India? I understand in India corporal punishment is forbidden in all the states. Is that correct?
Yes, I think they're completely discouraging it, but there may be certain villages which still use corporal punishment. But I am for one who never want corporal punishment to be used. I am totally against it.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever found any teachers that you've had that you wished you could use corporal punishment on?
Teachers, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I happened to work under a principal who was a real tyrant. I don't think children had much respect for her. If they had, that respect came from fear. And I don't believe in her policies because I could see that the children never had any real love or respect for her. And she was always in different moods, and she would just get mad for the least thing. And they were all terribly scared of her. And I wonder what a principal of that temperament could be effective, how she could be effective. I don't think in that position you could really deal with the students very
You're
well.
not going to be that kind of principal when you get home.
I hope not. I don't want to brag about myself, but I don't really want to be one like that.
As you watch the American boys and girls here from the place where you stay, and I understand you're near a place where they gather, how do they compare to the boys and girls in your home?
Well, unfortunately, I happen to live near where I get a good chance of seeing all the delinquent adolescent gangs.
Well, now, you know they don't all go to school. That's a gathering, and we want to make clear that this is what is a place near there. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's a hamburger joint where these students come. And I don't want to explain everything, but I really think some of the things that they do here, our boys don't really get a chance to do. I don't blame the boys here. I think it's their economy that spoils them.
Oh, it is the economy.
Yes.
What are some of the things you see them do that they wouldn't do in your town?
Well, for one day, one afternoon, I was home and I could hear some terrible noise, and I just lifted up my drape a little bit and watched, and they were pushing a girl into the men's restroom and closed the door, and everybody ran away with all the cars around. And when the girl came out, there was nobody there. And I could see her running back to join her classmates. I don't know what fun they had about doing it, but I just could understand because everybody had a beautiful Impala Chevrolet or a Corvair or a Corvette or something like that, and they could just have fun. And I believe in India, if they had this kind, they would probably do the same thing. I really wouldn't know.
Well, one thing in India, in the evenings and the rest, you don't have the problems with the boys and girls, do you?
Yes, we don't have the problem because the girls are supposed to be home. And after school time, they go straight home, and they are not usually seen outside, especially after 6 o'clock. And if they do, they will usually have an escort. And the boys don't have the girls around to go with them. So that kind of discipline problem we don't encounter much.
When you look at all the different forms of discipline that you have experienced, Osman, what is your opinion as to the type which is most effective as far as junior, senior high school, elementary boys and girls are concerned?
Well, I do feel that discipline actually stems and comes from the home. It's everybody should make the parents should make and contribute their own share to discipline. And corporal punishment could be used if it's used very, very discriminately and in very, very extreme cases. But actually, I think children are children that are going to always have some kind of problem with discipline. But if the parents are are aware of their responsibility, I think they could do a very good job.
How do you feel, Miriam, about forms of discipline and their effect upon
Well, I
behavior?
think that during the elementary it's a good idea to spank the boy or give a little bit because they understand more corporal punishment than a moral punishment, like let him in school after all the period class is over and do his homework or they or have a warden from the principal or any of the teachers. So though the secondary students, they understand much better that than an elementary boy.
And Nana, did you use corporal punishment as a principal?
Yes, I
Will
did.
you use it when you go back home?
Oh, I can't say because I won't teach either in the high school or in the elementary school, but I think my work will involve administration of higher education. Either I will serve in that capacity in the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, or I will go into public administration involving higher education in the Ministry of Education.
You won't need corporal punishment there.
Yeah, but no, we will not need it. But but I will not abolish corporal punishment in Nigeria. I will restrict it to be used only by professors and by headmasters and principals, but not by inexperienced teachers.
Have you gotten any new ideas when you in the United States?
Yes, I think you have a very wonderful system of discipline in that the child develops a great deal of independence, no fear. But what I don't like in the American school is kids sitting down when the professor or the teacher gets in. At least they should stand up, not that they should sure respect the difference between the professor, a teacher, and then the kids. Even in colleges and universities, I quite remember when I stood up one day in one class, and the kids the college boys thought I was crazy, not knowing that it's a European pattern that when a professor walks in, everybody up, good morning, sir. Then you sit down. When he says good morning, you sit down. When he wants to go out, the same thing. Maybe I'm bringing European system, maybe it's not good, but American system is very good to American society, I think.
Well, I'm sorry we have to bring this interesting discussion to a close, and if you were to say goodbye in India to the audience, how would you say, Amani, goodbye?
Namaste.
Osman, in Lebanon, you'd say goodbye.
Hadrakum.
Miriam in Colombia.
Adios.
And Nana and Judith.
Viszontlátásra.
Thank you all, and join with us on our next program when you will hear students who have gone through the American schools talk about their practices and also their attitudes in school discipline. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Vredevoc. Friends, discipline will be presented at this same time each week. As we stated at the opening of this program, this series is presented as an in-service training series for public school teachers and is so designed that certain school districts may award salary increment credit to teachers who view this TV series and complete the course. Further information may be obtained by contacting district administrator. Discipline is presented by KRCA as a public service. This program is produced in cooperation with the Educational TV Office, University of California Extension, UCLA, and the California Teachers Association, Southern Section. Persons interested in contacting Dr. Vredevoc, please use this address: